History's Top 7 Dumbest Monarchs. From Kate Middleton to Meghan Markle, we've all dreamt of being royalty. Tourists flock to see the Buckingham Palace, hoping to have a glimpse of the life of the royal family. However, when a country's kingship relies on the royal bloodline, chances are they will produce dull-witted heirs sometime or another. And nobody can have a say against it, because that's just how things work. That being said, history has no shortage of ill-fated leaders. So here are the top 7 dumbest monarchs in history. Henry I. Remember the Fear Factor show? Well, this particular one dates back in 1135 AD. Henry I of England got involved in a food dare wherein he gorged a number of blood-sucking lampreys, of which he was apparently quite fond of. He suffered from food poisoning, lost the dare, and paid with his life. That was not your typical sushi eating challenge for sure. Number 6. James II of Scotland. Over and over again, we hear women say that they want to see effort. You'd think James II of Scotland would buy a whole garden of flowers to impress his lady, but no. He figured that a cannonball display would be the way to go. I don't know if he was too turned on to think right, or if he was feeling emasculated. Anyway, he stood too close to the weapon that when it was fired, a cannonball shot directly at his thigh. He suffered extreme blood loss and pain that eventually perished. Number 5. William the Conqueror. William the Conqueror, as the title implies, was known for his brilliance in battle. During a distressful encounter, however, William's horse unexpectedly halted with so much force that his guts ruptured against the saddle. He was carried alive to the capital, but passed away shortly because no medical treatment could save him. I guess your knight in shining armor is no horse whisperer. Number 4. George II. Remember when you and your friends used to talk about the most embarrassing ways to die? Well, imagine being found dead in the toilet because of constipation. Yup, that's exactly what happened to King George II. Although he lived longer than most of his predecessors, he didn't die so nobly. After drinking his last cup of hot chocolate, his tum-tum didn't feel so dum-dum, that he exerted so much force in the bathroom and his heart physically burst. He died of aortic aneurysm. So kids, remember to be thankful the next time you survive on number 2. Let us know what you think is the most embarrassing way to die in the comments below. Number 3. King George IV. When George III's mental illness finally took the best of him, his son, George IV, took over the kingdom. While his father was popular among the people, George IV was hated. Ministers detested him and called him selfish and under the thumb of favorites. The people ridiculed him of his excessive spending in the middle of the Napoleonic Wars. He also greatly detested his wife, Caroline of Brunswick, that he forbade her to come to his coronation. The only way that he could divorce her was doing a royally dumb move, which he was to allege her with adultery. News of the affair and trial spread out to eager readers across the British Isles and lowered the prestige of the monarchy. His stupidity was so intense that he expected his offense-filled subjects to support him. The majority sided with Caroline. His divorce proceedings failed and he turned the whole country against him. Jeez, the man's got a lot of haters. Number 2. Henry VIII. Henry VIII, King of England, was young and promising at the beginning of his reign. But if you watch the movie The Other Boleyn Girl, you'll see that he became increasingly psychotic with an obsession to produce a male heir. Henry broke away from Rome, started a division, and caused an inconsiderable amount of bloodshed because he wanted to divorce his wife and marry a younger maiden. What's worse is that he had his then new wife, Anne Boleyn, beheaded for treason, adultery, and incest with no real evidence because she could not give him an heir. He ended up having 6 wives and killing a number of people for ridiculous reasons. His daughter, Bloody Mary, definitely learned from the best. Or worst for that matter. Number 1. Edward VIII. In contrast with heir-obsessed Henry VIII, Edward VIII, the Duke of Windsor, knew he had a duty to marry and produce an heir, but showed little effort in finding an honorable wife. Instead, he had a lineup of mistresses, all of whom were already married and ineligible for him to marry. He finally set his eyes on Wallis Simpson, who was not only married but had been divorced from a first husband. He seemed to not grasp that having the title of the head of England could not give him the privilege of both marrying a twice-divorced American common woman and retaining his throne. He was also still clueless as to why the royal family refused to receive her or grant her a royal title. And his simple-mindedness didn't end there when he openly showed admiration to Hitler. Winston Churchill and King George VI had to send him to the Bahamas during World War II to get him as far away from England as possible. If we've missed any dumb monarchs in history that you want us to include in the next video, make sure to leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed that segment, remember to hit the subscribe button and to turn on the notifications for more interesting historical facts.